Virtuoso's test automation platform, which allows anybody to use natural language programming, such as click on and then the login button, if that's what the label on the screen says, can be used to test any browser-based application. However, a particularly good use case for Virtuoso is testing in insurance. For example, in this case with a policy portal, being able to log into the platform, then to be able to come in this case, create a customer, filling in the form using the natural language programming steps along with test data, before using that customer to, for example, create a policy. Again, going through a form and interacting with different elements like drop downs and radio buttons and form fields. And then it could be coming through, for example, and then asserting on a PDF for a policy that the details have been correctly populated based on the customer and policy details that have been created in the end-to-end journey, the end-to-end workflow. So for this to work, Virtuoso's natural language programming enables anybody to use what we call live authoring. And in the live authoring, you get a live browser window, in this case to navigate to the policy portal, and it will come to the login screen. You can break down your test, your end-to-end journey, into what we call checkpoints, small features such as the login steps. And then literally without predefining anything, any keywords or objects or page object models, I can use the natural language to come and write, in this case, the username, look at the screen and the field says username, and when I press enter, we have a live bot which is looking for the username field in the browser-based application. We can see on screen that it's worked and the test step has gone green, so we know that this is working. And then similarly, we could come along, write the password in the password field before clicking on the login button. Virtuoso provides extensive natural language programming to be able to interact with the majority of different features you'd expect in browser applications. In addition to this, you can also pass in test data. So in this case, we're actually generating a first name, a last name, and combining that into a full name. We're generating that randomly as the test is running. But what you could also do is generate test data sets. So for example, variables relating to different scenarios, in which this case it could be generating the address details, the system values that we find in the drop downs when generating could be the producers, the products, the brokers, and so on. So basically what you have are different test data scenarios that then you can data drive your test with. So I could come into my test and I can map in a test data table, assign that in and put all the variables into the relative places. And then when I run this test, I could do it with test data, run it with 5 rows of data in this case, which means I can have one test running against 5 different scenarios. Now, another key capability is that where you see these boxes are purple, these are reusable segments. So essentially, if the login steps are going to be used in every test, which they will be, I can drop them into what we call a checkpoint library. So essentially what I then have are reusable steps. I can look in the library when I've navigated and I can see the login page will load. And I can say I already have the login steps available. So what I'm going to do is add that into my test and start composing from those reusable segments. I could also then drop in, if I want to go to the home page, I could drop those in. So now what I have are these reusable segments that I could quickly compose, in this case the first 10 or so steps of the test, which can then start me coming in and building my flows really, really quickly. Now in the background here, a really important thing that's happening is that for each of these elements, Virtuoso is automatically building the model of those elements. XPath and IDs and classes could be JS path for Shadow DOM. So we automatically build that model. You don't need to do that. But then a really key thing here is that when the tests run, we're not fixed on this model. Virtuoso is using machine learning self-healing. So when the tests are run and we see the result in the project activity here, we can see all the test runs. But within these, we've got fully versioned test reports with things like screenshots and readable test steps that are automatically captured with your testing evidence. But then if we see that there are changes in the element structure, so for example here, we can see that for the step where we want to click on the My Work, the element has remained the same, but in this case, the classes have changed. So what Virtuoso is doing is using machine learning algorithms to go ahead and re-identify the element as the test is running on every single test run. And where you see these little sticking plasters, these are all self-healing points that happen automatically. In this case, you can see we have an ID, a class, and an XPath ID that's being updated. So what this means is you've got a reduction in the maintenance burden. So you don't have to have people sitting and fixing your automated tests simply because the browser-based applications are dynamic. So aside from the benefits here of the ease of use, the accessibility, the speed, but also the reduction in the maintenance burden, Virtuoso also has a range of AI capabilities in addition to things like the element selection and the self-healing. For example, we have AI generation of what we call journey summaries. So for example, you can get a summary of what the test is actually covering using generative AI to describe what's happening in the test. We also have the ability to extend the platform, so you can create your own natural language commands. For instance, if I want to have today's date in just day, month, year format, I can have a natural language command, and then I could use a little AI bot and say create today's date in day, month, year format, and that will go ahead and create for me JavaScript that will drive my natural language, my custom natural language, which then I can deploy in my test. We also have for the test data the ability to generate AI generated data. For example, if I want customers, then I could come and say generate 10 customers with first name, last name, email and phone number, all based in the UK. Then by putting that in, the AI will go ahead and generate the 10 rows of data for me in the requested formats, so I can create that more sort of generic data on the fly and have it ready to build into my tests. And then to top it off, once you have built your tests into what we call goals, which are like test packs, which contain all of your different tests, your journeys, you can then design out execution plans. So I could build, for example, a regression pack, and this could contain certain goals and journeys. For example, I could add in all of those tagged with claims or all of those tagged with policy, for example, to build up my execution plans. I can have those scheduled or hooking into CI/CD pipeline tools. And then when you're ready to run, all of the tests will run on Virtuoso's infrastructure. We're in the cloud, and you're getting those fully versioned test reports with pass-fail results, which you can immediately start looking through, including having different data scenarios which are tabbed through for each of those executions. So again, while Virtuoso's low-code test automation platform using natural language programming can be used to test any browser-based application, it is particularly suited to the insurance industry, particularly where insurers are going on digital transformation, moving their applications into the cloud and onto browser-based applications, where there's an ongoing need for regression testing because of changes occurring between systems, even where you're working between multiple applications in the same test. You can still test those business workflows with those premise of the ease of use. Testers, BAs, product owners, as well as engineers can use this. So you've got the speed, ease of use, the reduction in maintenance, and the ability to run your regression testing at scale using Virtuoso's low-code test automation.